Well, hello and welcome to Wildcat Week. I'm Roger Alcock. Well, the men's football team traveled across the county to take on their rival Taylor University in a nail-biting game last Saturday. Joining us now in the studio is the head coach of the Wildcats, Jordan Langs, to give us some insight into that victory. So first of all, Coach, welcome back to Wildcat Week and congratulations on a win. It's always good to get a win.
It is. It is. It's better to be on this side of it than the other side, so we're excited.
You know, going into the game, we got a chance to talk to your staff a little bit before, and I know you guys defensively really wanted to stop the run, see if they could beat you with the pass, and for the most part, that's exactly what you did. You held them to just over 100 yards rushing, I think, and a team that's used to, I think, around 208 yards a game. So defensively, you guys had a game plan, and your guys executed.
Yeah, Coach Clark and the defensive staff did a great job. They knew we had to stop the run and force their quarterback to try to throw it, which he did effectively early on. And then the plan just kind of kept kicking and kept working. So, yeah, great plan, great setup, and then also great execution, especially in some pretty adverse field position.
We'll take a look at some of the highlights here. Again, it was a great crowd there that night over in Upland. And your first possession, you guys really moved the ball really well, but it ended up with a turnover, and I know that's something that frustrates you.
Yeah, we just can't do it. We can't. That's 2 weeks in a row now. We have a great plan. We're moving it. We're executing it. We have to make better decisions down the stretch where we get closer to the score zone, and we would have been in a much better position.
You know, when we talked about stopping the run, that required that your corners had to play a lot of one-on-one coverage, and they were really solid.
Yeah, Juice Johnson did a great job. Donnie Shelton, Massimo Pagnoni, all those guys were up to the challenge. They had to be on islands all night, and they really executed that well.
Well, it's your second drive now, and really ran the ball effectively, you know, especially right at them.
Yeah, I mean, disappointing. You know, we had 5 possessions in the first half. The first one we're going in to score, we throw an interception, then we score in the next 2. And that's why that first one is so crucial. That puts a much different flavor on the football game going into halftime. But yeah, we did run the ball well. Great plan by Coach Terrazas and Coach Ekins, and our kids stuck with it and executed it, and our running backs continue to get better.
You saw the big conversion there on the 4th down, and here's the first touchdown of the game, Zach Blair to Braden Smith, and you guys are on the board first.
Yeah, the original concept was covered up well by them in their zone look, and nice job by Zach improvising and Braden coming back to football.
Well, and the score stays. You know, we should got to mention Ben Von Gutten.
Yeah, Ben.
Mention him. He hasn't missed an extra point yet this year, I don't believe.
He hasn't missed an extra point. Missed a really crucial field goal, which is very unlike him. But I know he'll bounce back.
The defense steps up, forces them to punt. But this was a play that hurt you, but it didn't kill you per se.
Yeah, but we can't do it. Too many turnovers. We turn the ball over here, and then defense gets off the field again. We force another punt, and then they punt. We get the punt blocked. It's just that sequence of events can't happen if you want to be an elite football team, and that's what we've really got to focus and concentrate on.
That was one of the things I felt was critical, or even more impressive, I should say, about your defenses. Quite frankly, there were several times, especially in the second half, where they were put in pretty bad situations and didn't give up points.
Yeah, it's what we've tried to avoid all year is putting too much stress on one phase of the game and putting too much pressure on one side, which we've done a good job of. 2 nights ago, we put a lot of pressure on the defense, which we cannot do, but they won the football game for us by stepping up in those situations.
And their defense, give them credit, they got a little salty as well.
No, they're a good defense. Coach Conway, their defensive coordinator, is an experienced guy. It gets the kids to play hard. So, yeah, taking nothing away from their defense, they play well.
This was a bit of an odd play where the punt was partially blocked and they got a deep return out of it. Thankfully, they don't get a touchdown out of it, though.
Yeah, and that's all well and good, but we cannot continue to put ourselves in those situations. Special teams has been so good for us all year. It's got to continue to stay in the positive, and we were way too negative with those and a couple penalties on special teams. But I know we'll get back on track.
Well, they got the field goal there, and this was, I would say, their biggest play of the game. Salzgeber, the Gutenberger, and then Salzgeber, good running quarterback, gets it in the end zone to cap off that drive.
Yeah, he's had a good career. The kid plays really hard, really tough. And that's what we had to avoid. In the short yardage situations, they're always going to have a good plan, and we can't allow ourselves to get into that spot.
I thought maybe this was the drive of the game, though, in that there was 4 minutes left on the clock before the half. You guys march it down the field, some 75 yards, catch a huge break right there, but you cap the drive off with a touchdown.
Yeah, we just, again, have to continue to focus on taking care of the football. Our run game is getting where it needs to be. Jesse Deglow is finding his stride when we get down there in the score zone. Varshawn did a good job running the ball for us. Wade did a good job. We have the tools there, and we have a great plan each week. We just got to really stay focused on the execution of it.
Well, with the touchdown, the Wildcats take the 14-10 lead. And a couple plays here before the end of the half. Any kind of drive they thought maybe they'd get a field goal attempt, though, is snuffed out there by the interception.
Yeah, a little surprised by it. I didn't know if they were going to push the ball right before the half, so it was a good job stopping. It's a great play by Massimo.
That was
on a double move.
Incredible play when we saw the replay.
Really strong recovery by him and getting the football out, and then just getting them in third and predictable passing situations is where we tried to be all night.
Well, that's quite frankly not where they're the most comfortable.
Right.
And then your defense with the big sack there, loved it. Here's a nice run, though, by Salzgeber. Tough kid and tough runner, but for the most part, again, he Spencer Crisp, you never gave up big plays in the running game.
Yeah, and that's going to be really key. We had to make them, if we knew if we could be stout on first and second down, we could put them in scenarios they were uncomfortable with. And you see another one here. Our defensive backs played really, really well. And they continue to play, just to play with confidence, which is really important.
Kind of I don't know exactly how to explain that one, but the tip drill there, and they come away with the interception. And this was one of the situations where I was talking about your defense is in a tough spot here because they have the ball at midfield, but you don't give any up.
Yeah, I mean, again, kudos to the defense. I thought that they might have got to the ball early in that interception, but this is where you have to play together as a team, and that's what we did. And even though we continue to give the ball back, the defense did a great job of stepping up.
The running game, there was a nice play there. Not a ton of big plays out of it, but it was solid that night.
Yeah, no, it was good. I mean, our running game was right where it needed to be, honestly. And this was a good drive. This drive we needed to. We got it late in the third. We needed to flip it into the fourth, and our kids did that. We ended up missing a field goal on it. But our offense did a nice job of putting us in a position that we needed to be.
Again, great coverage there by Justin Johnson. This was a series here where you got pinned deep. You were able to work the ball out a little bit, but after the punt, they again have the ball in really good field position.
Yep, I mean that's why you got special teams is so key because you have to be able to you have the field position down the stretch. That's how you're going to be in the elite football program.
I think half their drives started either at midfield or inside of Wildcat territory.
Yeah, that's not a position we want to be in, and we haven't done that all year. All year, our special teams has been an advantage to us, and we've got to get back to that.
I think fittingly, though, kind of the game comes to a close with the defense coming up with the stop on fourth down. You take a knee from there, and you walk out of Upland with a 14-13 win. First win in the eastern part of the conference, so I mean that's huge. I think that's the biggest part, maybe the biggest takeaway.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to win football games. Obviously, it's a big rivalry. It's there's a ton of emotion. It's charged. Going over to them, they have us on homecoming. They host us on homecoming, and then at night. I mean, obviously there's a lot that's riding on that game, and our kids did a good job of responding. We didn't execute where we should have been at times in all three phases, but overall did a very good job of coming out of the victory, which is hard to do. Half the teams in the country lost on Saturday because it's hard to win football games at the college level. So I'm excited for our kids. I'm proud of our kids. A big win for the program, but our focus now must be on how do we get better as we enter into the rest of the East. Well,
last thing, you do get a chance to get better on Saturday against Lawrence Tech, a team you played twice last year, but I don't think there'll be any down with your team because they know it's homecoming to IWU.
Yeah, we have to be really focused because this is Lawrence Tech was a couple heated games last year. Obviously, they started up the same time we did, so there's obviously a connection there already. Our kids, if we're not focused on how we can improve which from a game that had a lot of crucial mistakes in the Taylor game, And then we have to look in the mirror. We must respond this week and get better, and I fully anticipate our kids doing that.
Awesome. Well, Coach, once again, congratulations on the big win. We'll see you Saturday at Wildcat Stadium.
Thank you.
All right, as we mentioned, the Wildcat football team will be hosting Lawrence Tech. The Blue Devils come to town October the 12th. Game time is at 1 p.m. Well, don't go away. When we come back, we're going to talk to the head coach of the Wildcat volleyball team, Candace Moats, and take a closer look at their match against Marian. And welcome back to Wildcat Week. The Wildcat volleyball team, they fell to Marian University last week, bringing to an end their 20-game win streak. Well, the head coach of the Wildcats, Candace Moats, joins us now to take a look at that kind of upsetting loss against Marian. But welcome to Wildcat Week, Coach. And I say an upset because going into the match, Wildcats were number 3 team in the country, the highest ranking ever in program history. Yeah. But you also knew that the Knights were a really good team as well. They were ranked top 20 in the country. You had beat them early in the year, and they were out for revenge, if you will. And so we knew it was going to be a good game.
Right. Yeah. We definitely were prepared for the match in the sense of what we were going to do on our side. The execution, however, of just staying cleaner than what we were. We just made so many errors, and that just really got in our heads a lot, and I think kind of took a little bit of the spirit out of our game.
What was kind of interesting is we're going to jump into some highlights here in a minute, but before the match, a game that we broadcasted here on WIW-TV, Lauren Oak and I had commented on how this Wildcat team, the biggest difference between maybe this year and other years is obviously there's talent there, but they played so cleanly with so few mistakes and waited for other teams to make mistakes. And you told me before the show today that it's kind of like you saved them all up from the entire year for this one game.
Yeah. I don't know what was really the situation that was going on. We just, I don't know if we were panicking or if we felt like each individual was having to try to take care of it themselves, and they just weren't thinking. There was just a lot of, I would call kind of mindless decisions that were made, where you got a big block on you, you don't just go right into the block. And, there's just a lot of things that were frustrating for us as we were watching, and I'm sure for the fans that were watching as well.
Well, we're in the second set already, but that first set was probably the critical set because you were up 21-18 and then kind of laid an egg there, and they came back to take it 25-21. You didn't score another point.
Right.
In the second set, again, it's tight. You're up early, but this was a game, and I think we saw it in this set as well, where every 50-50 ball, every kind of flute play, seemed to go the Knights' way as well. And you got to credit them because those things don't happen unless you're really hustling.
Oh, my word. They played a tremendous defense. I mean, I could not tell you. We could not find the open court. They just were scrappy and going after everything, and I think that was just igniting them.
That's one of the plays I'm talking about right there. You guys have the kill, but the ball stays alive off of one of the speakers, and they end up getting the point.
I know it. I know. That was a little frustrating that came back in the court, But that was kind of the night we were having, and it just was frustrating, that we were, I don't know, just a lot of things that normally don't happen. We're just kind of escalating for us on our side, for sure.
So now you're in very unfamiliar territory. You're down 2-0.
Yeah.
Third set, credit your ladies, and I would say credit them all night long. We never got the sense that they weren't working hard, weren't hustling, but maybe just weren't in sync all the time. But you came back here in this third set to get the win here and played well in this third set.
Yeah, that's the highlight, I would say, from the whole match is, as we got into the huddle, you're down 0-2. You're experiencing something you haven't experienced yet for the season, and to just kind of challenge them to just say, hey, we need to get a game, and let's just focus on this game. Let's not focus on what we are, the deficit we're in. Let's just focus on what we need to do on our side, and let's just respect the fact that we are a strong team. We are able to go out there and compete with these guys. We've known that before, and and honestly too, I was just looking. I'm a big picture person, so I'm looking at the whole series here. If there was a chance for us to have a tie one-on-one with these guys, we're going to win the tiebreaker if we win a set, because we beat them 3-0. So it was kind of a little bit of a motivation for them to just like, okay, let's go after this.
Well, and here, you finished the third set so strong, and I thought, okay, now you've got momentum back.
Yeah.
And again, credit the Knights, because they came out on fire in that fourth set and took a big lead, and then it got really interesting.
Yeah.
because there was a moment you guys were down, I think 24-18.
Yeah.
And then got it to 24-23.
Yeah. I really think that if we would have gotten that tie there, I mean, I want to just say Alison Sparrow, man, she was like determined to go after it, and she was just even yelling, "Give me the ball, give me the ball." I mean, she worked her butt off trying to save the day, and I was pretty impressed with her, and just that her heart was out there, and she was giving it all to try to get us tied up.
Well, Coach, I would have to think, though, the way that the timing of your schedule is, after that game, it's been an emotional stretch. 21 games, you're 20-1 now. You're still tied first place in the conference. You got about, 8 days off between games. And that seems to me that would have to be some really good timing there to maybe get a little break, but also work on some little things.
Right, yeah. And we gave them the weekend off. We thought that was the most important thing, because we had gone 20 matches, really 21 matches, with 3 of them at home in the whole September month. So we knew they were tired. We knew that we just needed to get a little break from each other. And I think it's been healthy. I think they're coming back today. We got 4 days to put some things in. Coach Dan and I, we've talked a lot about this, reflected on it. We've got some good ideas of things we're going to do to just kind of get us back on track again, and we'll be there.
Awesome. Well, we're looking forward to this next part of the season coming up, and the next part of that season is when the Wildcats travel to Madonna University up in Michigan on Friday, October the 11th. The game time will be at 3 p.m. Well, when we come back, Mikala Woodfork brings us the breakdown, and we'll talk to some athletes from the men's cross country team. We'll talk about their epic weekend right after this. Welcome back to Wildcat Week. We're going to send it over now to Mikala Woodfork with this week's breakdown.
Thanks, Roger. The women's golf team spent 2 days at the Bill Bachwitz Fall Classic. At the end of day 1, the ladies were 4th out of 9 teams, just 1 point behind Grace, but after day 2, they earned 2nd place. The volleyball team lost their first game this season against Marian. Each set played was nail-biting. They lost the first 2 sets 25-21 and then 25-18, but were able to come stronger in the third and won 25-20. The fourth set was a real battle, but unfortunately the Wildcats fell at 25-23. Both the men's and women's soccer teams went up against St. Francis and won. The women won 2-0 with Brenna Streeter making the first goal in the 11th minute and Riley Spoltman making the second goal in the 24th minute. The men won 7-1 with Felipe Mendonca scoring the first 3 Wildcat goals. The tennis teams faced Marian and walked away with wins. The women beat Marian 4-0 and then the men beat Marian 4-1. Finally, the football team had another intense game against rival Taylor University. By the end of the first half, the Wildcats were up by 4. In the second half, Taylor scored 3 more points, but it was not enough to beat the Wildcats, and the final score ended at 14-13. Well, that's all I have for you this week on The Breakdown. Back to you, Roger.
Thank you so much, Mikala. Well, turning our attention now to cross country. The teams traveled to the Greater Louisville Classic this past weekend. Joining us now from the men's team are Caleb Joy and Jesse Saxton. So first of all, guys, welcome to Wildcat Week. I'm sure a lifelong dream come true.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
I'm going to start with you, Caleb.
All
Just
right.
give us a little insight on who you are, where you're from, and what you're studying here.
My name's Caleb Joy. I'm from Lexington, Kentucky. I'm studying, I'm graduating with general studies, but then I'll be pursuing my master's in social work.
Awesome. How about you, Jesse?
I am a senior from Grant, Michigan, and right now I am studying youth ministry for senior year.
Awesome. So now, I'll start with you, Caleb. You get to go home.
I do.
In a sense, last week at the Greater Louisville Classic. And I know, talking with Coach Foss a couple weeks ago, this is really an elite cross-country event. And when we say that, you guys were in the Division I race. We're talking teams from Louisville, Marquette, Vanderbilt, Mid-American schools like Bowling Green in Ohio. So there's some really good competition at this meet, isn't there?
Absolutely. Yeah, this would have been my 13th time running on that course. It was kind of like a home meet for me, really. But the competition is outstanding every year. This year was really cool. We got to line up on the start line, and they were introducing the teams, and they got to IWU, and they announced this coach, John Foss, in his 33rd year, and then they called us national runner-up from last year. And that was really cool to be mentioned. Was with the other Division I schools in that race. It was a big opportunity for us. I
should mention you guys finished 14th out of those 41 teams, so a great finish. Jesse, one of the things that came out of this as a team, I know that kind of the strength of this team is you guys really run in a pack very well together, but as a team, you had the highest or the fastest team time in the history of the program, so that has to be what kind of, I should say, not only satisfying, but maybe a little surprising in that, you guys are built to peak at the end of the season.
Right. Yeah, it was really surprising. Everybody performed super well this race. It was definitely a breakthrough race, and especially from last year, this was our turning point in our season where we showed up and then we just maintained throughout the rest of the season. Yeah, everybody showed up and everybody ran to the best of their ability. I couldn't be prouder of all of them.
Okay, now Jesse, I know cross country is a team sport, obviously, but it's also an individual sport. So you run a 24:20, you finish 25th, and if Chris Maxon doesn't go a 24:07 and edge you out, but both of you guys broke the old school record in the 8K.
Yeah, it was really cool at first. Like, I crossed the line, and my first thought was, where did Chris end up? And hearing the time that he ran, like, individually, I was like, I wish I could have been up there, but I couldn't be more proud of him. Like, he's put forth such great work. He's the most dedicated person out of our team, probably. And yeah, I just couldn't be happier for him.
Should mention really quickly, the women's team finished 30th out of 41 teams, but all 7 of their top 7 runners finished under 19 minutes. Yvette Rojas with an 18:37. And I know also Coach Foss mentioned on the women's side, this is as strong as a field they've ever competed against. So a top 30 finish is a really epic finish for those ladies, isn't it?
Absolutely, and they're a really young team this year too. The freshmen have been really surprising.
Caleb, lastly, maybe I'll ask you, we mentioned trying to peak at the end of the season, but there's a few more things left to come. You've got the Bethel invite. I know you got the Great Lakes invite up in Michigan, but then you have the Crossroads League invite coming up in about a month. But couple things left, but you guys got to feel good where you're at right now, I'd imagine.
Absolutely. I think this is a big race for us collectively. It was last year as well. It was a turning point for us last year. We split teams and we got to see what we were made of. This year we were all back together, and this is a big turning point going forward. Our goal is to keep continuing closing gaps within our team, as well as the gaps nationally with us in the rankings as well.
Well, guys, once again, congratulations on a great weekend. And thanks for joining us. And good luck the remainder of your season, okay?
Thank
you very much.
All right. Well, as you said, the cross-country teams will be back in action on Friday, October the 11th, as they compete in the Bethel Invitational. It's up in Mishawaka. The races begin at 5 p.m. Well, that is all we have for you on this episode of Wildcat Week. If you'd like to see more of Wildcat Week, you can visit our website, wiwtv.com. There you can watch past episodes and connect with us online. Again, that's wiwtv.com. And you can stay connected with all our local programming by subscribing to our YouTube channel. That's WIWTV. Well, we look forward to seeing you next week. So for all of us here, thank you so much for watching Wildcat Week.